Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining me back at the Crowdcast platform. I really appreciate it. Hope everyone's doing all right tonight. And I'm happy to see those of you that have joined me tonight. So if we will, let's go ahead and we'll take a moment and drop into the field together. I'm really very excited about what might come through tonight, just given the kind of information and frequencies that I've been connecting with just today. It's really quite amazing. And I'm very aware that we're entering into that intense magnetic field that was given to us back in the early part of the winter. So, shall we go and see what the guides have to say, what kind of energy we're in? So, as you know, you're the one that sets the field, and I follow. So, we'll do this together. So, just take a moment and focus on your third eye, your heart, the palms of your hands. And if you will, set your intention. And if you feel so inclined, say a few words in the chat to get it settled into the mental field here as a collective, so your peers and I can best understand what we're about here tonight. So the energy is really strong coming into my system. And I'll give it another couple of minutes to give you time to state your intention, to bring it into the field here together as we hold sacred space for our collective intention. So one of these 20-foot tall beings of light that I connected with today, I guess is still here with me. I was doing a session for someone this afternoon and was seeing a lot of where the earth is going and where humanity is going right along with the earth. So it looks like this energy, this frequency has stayed with me, and I trust that it's for a purpose. So with that, we'll take a moment and I'm going to go ahead and just make a quick adjustment here. Okay. So with the reality of our life here upon the planet, there are many different beings of light, many different star cultures here on this planet as we know. And this is a time that we're being called to fully self-actualize. I'm hearing the words to take our rightful place to the left of God, to the right of God, consciousness. A lot of the times these energies come through as metaphors. And so tonight is another metaphor of sorts. So as I invoke the highest expression for this session, here we are in the middle part of June, right before the midpoint of the year, asking for divine guidance and understanding of where we are, and how we are to be holding this frequency of great joy and love with and for self and others. They're saying that as you are recognizing in this awareness of your life and living your life force, you're living how you use your life force, that there are many beings that are coming into the stratosphere of this planetary grid system now. There is much rattling and prattling about in the circles, in the power circles of this planet that want to see or to have an experience of the human population suppressed. And they're saying this shall not be. They're saying we are here for the still point of the human race. And we're about to reach this still point pretty much in the middle of July, that flows then into the latter part of August into early September. What's going to occur in a collective consciousness kind of way is that the reality of our life here upon the planet, and as we stay attuned to nature, is we're running these star matrices in our human energy system. It's all found in our DNA. DNA is very frequency activated. And as the planetary grid system starts to intensify, light up, if you will, it's going to cause not an implosion in our system, it's going to cause an inversion of our matrices. And what I mean by that is everything that we think, feel, and understand about our lives on the planet is going to, you're going to have more spaces within the spaces within yourself. The sense of gravity is going to shift. The sense of timelessness, that sense of being in a surreal space. What is actually happening when we experience these things is the fact that the Earth is actively going through a magnetic pole shift. So there's several different layers of consciousness and actual events happening. So the magnetic north and south are beginning to shift. I shouldn't say beginning to shift, they are shifting. And the way that we sense and see and feel the earthen plane is getting to where it's more liquid light, it's more fluid. The very nature of our bodies are changing. The composition of our body matrix is shifting away from being very rooted or grounded into the earth. And we are shifting into more of our luminous body or light body. As we are doing that kind of shifting, our triggers are being activated. And these triggers are prompting us into major choice points. There is another wave of consciousness that is infusing us right now. We're on the front end of it, but nonetheless, it's very intense, and yet it's a feeling of timelessness. As it is a feeling of timelessness, it's also triggering us. See, there goes my throat chakra again. Let me just take a moment. Okay. Yeah, I see images as I'm being shown and told to say things. And so the images have a tendency to trigger my human nature because I don't want to speak to the images, but I'm being shown them for a purpose. So I'll speak to both as I go. That'll help, I think, free things up in this way. So these waves of liquid light are designed to activate our DNA. And the DNA, the double helix, is moving and forming into a very different configuration. the DNA that we think of and the symbols that we've seen, these double helixes and how they're connecting, is actually much more magnetically codified, if you will, than when you look at those illustrations. That's just an artist rendition of what scientists have relayed to us. The reality of the way that we are infused with consciousness is that the wave particles coming from the interstellar system are creating a very different pattern inside of us. As we walk in nature and do meditation and do all the things that bring us great joy and comfort, we begin to understand that the reality of this earth, as precious as it is changing. And it is true that the very nature of the water source and the water sources is going to define our life on the planet for many, many millennia to come. There are magnetic forces emanating from our galactic core now that are also influencing the way that we live on Earth. And so the patterning that we're engaged in is not just a spiritual be good, do good kind of way of being on Earth. We are walking, talking electromagnetic fields interacting with very strong forces on this planet. The magnetic field that is created from human interventions is only going to get stronger yet as we move along into the next millennia. And yet everything that we look at, that we see, that we set intention for, with the singularity of purpose and intention, is going to determine how our body interacts with these electromagnetic fields, because it's going to be the nature of the electromagnetic field as decided by what I'm going to call the controllers on this planet. These are the people that are supposedly working to invent ways to help the rest of us work easier, work smarter. But in reality, they're intensifying the electromagnetic fields, the waveforms on this planet. And it has a tendency to break down the magnetics that are found within the body, the circulatory system, the muscular system. In other words, it's not copacetic. These electromagnetic fields that are running through our environment and that are only going to intensify are going to be interfering even more in our capacity to stay healthy, to stay grounded, to communicate through subtle body communication because of the intensification of the competition, I'm going to say, for what's happening in terms of the planetary system. So as we recognize this way, what is bound to happen more and more is that we're going to band together. We are going to come together in ways that, just like this, that signify the intensification of high frequency coming from what I'm being shown and told. It's kind of like a bypassed system. So the bypass system is a system that the frequencies that we receive cannot be interfered with. They cannot be changed. The waveform cannot be inserted and shifted into a different waveform or others to be introduced. There are what they call safe zones. And I have to say that this, I believe, is the work that was shown back in 2009, where there are certain energy systems intersecting ley lines on the earth. These are not necessarily the ley lines and the churches and the temples, the ancient temples that have been established from so long ago. These are sometimes simply zones in the middle of a field in the jungle, away from everyone. So these are new energy systems, new zones of neutrality, where people quietly gather and begin to reinfuse their luminous body, their light body, with pure source codes of light. It's very important that these safe zones be established, and I do sense that there are people around the world that know what's theirs to do, and they're quietly establishing these safe zones. It's sort of like a network that is established and that you learn about, you know about through either word of mouth or just simply that you're guided to be in a particular place for a time. And so the energy that is supporting us to be on the planet and to revitalize our human energy system while these other energies are amping up are very clear in purpose. And it takes me back to the principles or the way of operating through purity of heart and compassion and the art of allowing, the way of staying aligned, and the way of discerning, the way of making decisions, so that we're not internally swayed or dissuaded from following our internal signal. And so I just wanted to sort of bring that to your attention, because the things that I'm seeing is a lot of sacred geometry and the way things are being explained to me recently. And it's being explained to me in terms of the human energy system. So the human energy system is magnetically attuned to the sacred geometry that governs this earthen plane. And that's how we get around. That's how we acknowledge our, I'm going to say, our energetic match. That's how we recognize the angelic beings, the master teachers that are guiding us, because there is an energetic match. And all of that, when you strip everything back, there is a waveform that we're aligning with. And so I think it's really key to keep attuning ourselves to our galactic core, which is really in the center of the earth. And of course, being guided by nature, loved up by nature, kept in great balance and harmony with nature. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and just surrender a little bit more, because I feel like I'm a bit in my head tonight from everything I've learned today. So with that, yeah, and this is a Metatronic field that I've been speaking from, the flashing universe, the new sacred circles that are upon the planet. And they're saying, like our shared mentor for some of us, Bill Bueller, on the other side, watching what is happening. And they're saying along with him, the Knights Templar, the White Brotherhood, the master teachers and guides. These are all collective groups of consciousness that have been on the planet. They've walked the planet. They understand what this planetary system is all about. And what they're saying is trust your instincts, trust your alignment with your heart of hearts. And the reality of what's really happening in life here on the planet, it is the combination of the energy system, the vessel, as you say, we say, I say, the guides will say, that our body matrix is the vessel. what is fueling the muscle is our spirit. It's our God consciousness from the highest source level. And we're all working very diligently to bring as much higher consciousness into the body-mind consciousness as possible, so that when this inversion takes place, and it will be an inversion, again, as I was talking with somebody today, we're going to be shifting. We're sitting in the third dimensional now. And again, these dimensions don't make a lot of sense to me, because the guides have never explained dimensions the way they have helped me to understand realms. Are much more fluid. But what's happening is we're in critical mass. We're in that time of shifting to third dimension, fifth dimension, seventh dimension. Once we get into the sacred geometry of the eighth dimension, our entire ecosystem, everything about our energy systems, everything about this world is going to invert. It's like we're going to be looking at a mirror of the universe, a mirror of our lives. We're going to be looking in, but we're also going to be looking outside of ourselves to see what is actually occurring. The actual undergirding of this planet is a holographic universe. In reality, we are running patterns, frequency patterns, through these sacred geometry kind of lines. They're telling me, yes, go ahead and just speak from what you know. They're saying that the beings of light that have been here from long ago, the story of Christ consciousness ascending, being persecuted and ascending, is a story of sacred geometry. It's a story of transformation, yes. And it is the oversoul of Maitreya that was there with this grouping of souls. It was the same thing with the Buddhists. It was the same thing with Master Kathumi. It was the same thing with Melchizedek. It's been the same with every master that has been on this planet and has walked this planet and been in this very dense, polarized environment, that they have been able to step away from the illusion of the distortion fields about what's real and what's not real. And they're saying that's why it's important for you to know yourself, to know what's inside yourself, to know how you personally feel inside yourself, to be aware and to be, the words that they're being given me to say is to be concerned not with what others feel, sense, or see about you, but to drop deep inside yourself and to emanate light, to find the elixir, calling it the sacred pearl, the sacred stone within you. And everyone has a luminescent soul star within them. It is the seat of the soul, the way that you sense, the way you see, the way you feel, the way that you are as a timeless being of light, to know thyself very clearly, so that you're aware of how you're positioning yourself in life, how you create, how you understand the bigger picture of your life in the way that you seat the soul in form. And some of us seat our soul in the small of our stomach, in the will center. Others of us are seated below our belly button, sort of in our hip area. Some are seated to the left or the right hip. Some are not seated in the body at all. And when you recognize when someone is fully not in their body and they're standing outside themselves, beside themselves, behind themselves, above themselves, or even below themselves sometime, there is an unsureness there. And they're saying if ever there is a time for us to understand where we reside within ourselves, it's most important, and to make peace, it's most important to know where we reside within ourselves and to make peace with this, because it is like stepping onto a roller coaster or whirly dervish kind of ride. The only way that you sort of survive and thrive through something like that is if you know not your center of gravity, but you know how you are inside yourself, so that you know what is you and what's not you. And so that you can let go and you can trust in the way that spirit, your spirit, is guiding you to be. And for those of us that are confused, those are what they call the lost souls. Those are the souls that become very confused. And that if you're not in your body, then someone else, absolutely other kinds of energies, are ripe for the taking. It's just as simple as that. We live in a very swirling, mixed bag of frequencies on this planet. And as the poles are shifting, and that quickening is about to occur in real time, that kind of surreal, timeless, convoluted, are we here, are we there, are we grounded, is up, up, and down, down. You don't really need to know that while you're in transit, I'm going to say. While this shifting is taking place, what you need to know is, am I inside myself? Am I emanating light from inside myself? And the rest of it is not to be concerned about, because you have developed a sense of trust of your divine power. And it's not that you are to live out your life by yourself, by your own wits, by only relying upon yourself. We are one. We are here to help one another be guided by these beautiful light beings that are here on this planet to help bring about this dramatic shift in consciousness. We are not meant to leave our bodies for this measure of a shift. We're here to implode light, and in many cases to invert in our awareness of life itself. So I just internally asked, what is this inversion about? And they're saying, well, as long as you are in a body, you have a feeling of separateness. You have a feeling of self. You have experienced self and other, self and other. Some of us put more stock in others. Some of us put our trust outside of ourselves to others. And this is what dictatorial leadership, governments, economics, social systems are designed in our current day. There's always a pull on us to give our power away to other. This inversion, as it occurs, and it does occur very much, it's a very personal, it's a very individual experience, and yet there is a quickening of consciousness, a huge tipping point, whereas some of us have been guided from before about being the first wave, the second wave, or the third wave of souls coming into the planet for service. This inversion is an all-at-once transformation of consciousness. And the inversion is simply, we are all one. The angelic beings have told us that all along. They have never told us that we are separate. They've always, at least told me, that they don't have the capacity to see a single individual as not unified with the rest. When they speak to one, they're speaking to all. When they're ministering to one, they're ministering to all. They're saying humanity has not recognized this yet. We have not recognized that we are all one, and that what is happening with one of us is happening with all of us. This inversion that takes place is that revelation. The revelation is a knowing. It's a direct knowing, and it's not a thinking thing. It's a discernible, visceral shift in our consciousness. And this is the ascension process that has been spoken about for hundreds and thousands of years. these are the demonstrations based upon the demonstrations of ascended masters that have gone through this very polarized world, have been hated upon, treasured, adored. And yet, when they leave this planet, we feel as though they're gone, that they're no longer here. And in fact, our memory, our collective memory, has been wiped out again and again and again and again, because we are meant to drive this train, if you will, this train of transformation, blinded. We're not meant to think it through. We're meant to feel it. Once we truly feel and experience this shift in consciousness, this inversion, then we have it forever. And then all the lights get turned back on. And then we have memory, full on memory from all the times that we've attempted this as mass consciousness from before. And we'll have memory moving forward. But until that time, there's forgetfulness. There is our collective memory is wiped clean. And that's why when you think of or you see archaeologists or scientists or explorer, and they're saying, oh, I found this other civilization, this ancient civilization, and there's this and there's that, and there's this temple, this pyramid that's in the jungle, and no one knows what it is, and there's all this research and understanding of what went on there, who was here before. They don't know. They might have clues, but they really don't know, because our collective memory and even the traces of how to get back there have been wiped clean. And the stories that are inserted into those artifacts, I'm going to say, are not true. The reason why they're not true, and the reason why the memory has been wiped clean, is because of the technologies. The technologies are what are being protected. And the reason why the technologies are being protected is because humanity has misused star technologies almost from the very beginning, because humankind has been messed with, has been tinkered with, has been violated, I'm going to say, in terms of our code, which is very important for us to know that. But it's also more important to know that we are all one. So the code that's inside of me that might be missing is found in another. And yet we have been schooled, we have been trained or programmed to absolutely be suspicious of one another, to be separate, to force our sense of differences upon, project onto others. And the reason for that is, especially in these modern eras, there's all kinds of programs that want to try to get us to feel completely separate and alone from others. It's because we're getting so close. We're so close in this collective shift in consciousness. And it is upon us now. It is upon us in this time, in this very nature, in this time of wonderment. And it is not that these beings of light, these master teachers, are stepping in to shift us, to save the day, to tell us or show us what it is. It's because we have, as a collective consciousness on this planet, have reached that critical mass. And it is a combination. It is a central sun being pulled back into our galactic, I'd say our galactic orbit, the galactic orbit, to join the family of light that we were before. So this is a story of what we were before we are returning. And so this concept of off-planet beings invading and hurting us and causing this and that, that's simply not true. That's a psyop. That's an absolute massive psyop, so that, again, if ever you're going to scare someone into hiding and being separate, just try to infuse fear in them. And that's what these programs are designed to do. And yet, those of us that understand that not only are there off planet beings, we're one of them. Our DNA is not fully human. We're partnered with the body mind matrix, and we're here to help. We're here to hold court, if you will, to hold to that high watch of oneness. And so they're saying that as we recognize in the reality of life and living as we go and as we see and as we fully orchestrate the changes that are within us now, the awareness of this inversion where we go from third, fifth, seventh dimensional reality, where we're almost there. We are sequestered in enclaves for a protective nature. We're understanding the elements. We're understanding the spin of the earth. We're understanding the magnetic flow of what does it mean for the earth to shift on her axis. And of course, when and as this is happening, the only thing that is happening within us is we feel a little lightheaded. When we can get up to walk, we're not so sure-footed. We find that where's the floor? Why am I not feeling so solid? It's because the earth is shifting. The magnetic center of earth is shifting. And so there are many forces happening all at once, and it's not like it's a perfect storm. It's a perfect timing of transformation. And so as we're recognizing this is the time, this period where we feel magnetically pulled down, it feels like, again, June, July, August. And suddenly, sometime in September, we pop right up. It's like we are deep sea divers being pulled down with weights on us. And we feel a bit disoriented. Some may describe it in emotional terms. It could be a time of triggering, a time of letting go of old stories, of whatever the body-mind matrix needs to do to let go of those fragments of programming. That is what's happening, and that is what has been happening for some time now. I would say probably 6 to 8 months in earnest. And the happiness quotient certainly is enlivened, and it is upon us, and our assignments are shifting. And as we go through the summer and begin to find our new center, our new way, we'll feel that magnetic pull on us, and then sometime in early to mid-September we'll pop up and we will feel the inversion. We'll have an incredible sense of oneness, that we truly are all one. So no angelic being, no ascended master will have to come and tell us and inform us that we are one, or minister us because our hearts are hurt, or that our soul memory is damaged. We will be repaired and whole because we are already, but we just don't know it yet. We haven't gotten that far. And we'll know it as an individual, we'll know it as a collective consciousness, we'll know it in terms of society and families and industries. We'll know it, and we'll work together because we truly will recognize we are one. Humanity is all one. And whatever happens in this oneness does impact all. I'm hearing that there will be tribunals for individuals that have consciously harmed humanity, but there's not to be hatred hurled at these people, just simply a witnessing to their acts or their deeds and a corrective measure taken. It's important because it's a learning process for everyone to have our individual and collective eyes open, so that it's not that we correct the deeds from before as much as we have eyes wide open moving forward. The cellular regeneration of the body is going to take, they're saying, about 6 to 9 years for a lot of us, because there is a lot of programming to release it will be gradual in nature, but as early as 2029, we will have an incredible sense of peace and prosperity within us. And by 2032, there will be whole cities or enclaves of cities built in these safe havens. These safe havens are for the cellular regeneration of, and they're built in a way of the plasmic field. People will understand how to amplify the field. For those of us that practice in our community of amplifying the field, it's second nature to us now. And for those that don't understand it, there will be a very quick learning curve, because these zones that people will find themselves gravitating toward feel so good that that sense of oneness is even more intensified. And the reality of life, as we're moving and as we're doing the dance of life in this way, in this manner, as we are building and liberating, feeling very liberated in our spirit, and yet feeling very deeply connected to one another, there's a reality that begins to shape in our awareness. And it is about not only protecting the children, which is a program that's running currently, as the call to protect the children goes out. The damage has been done, and a lot of these children are being called back up to the light, taken out of this planet, and deeply cared for in the healing chambers. I've seen these healing chambers, and they're just chock full of these young children that have been used and abused, with their innocence robbed from this lifetime. And a lot of them have been, on a soul level, volunteered to come to be, I'm going to say, a teacher or a call to arms, if you will, for others to begin to awaken, not for expressing rage and anger, and not for retribution, but to imagine a better world, a safer world, a world where the innocence of a child is the most treasured part of our human experience. And it carries forth the images that a child brings in. They're bringing the new earth in, the new earth structures in their imagination, in their innocence. And we will, once this inversion takes place, and we have a direct knowing, a direct experience of oneness, these children absolutely will be treasured by every single human on this planet, because we recognize that it is the altruism of the human experience that is so very important. And it's vital to the survival and the thriving nature of the human race. Is the imagination is the elixir for building new structure and revitalizing the ecosystem of the earth. The gaping holes that are found in the earth and growing from rare earth minerals and building materials and all of that are going to be recovered by nature, because the star technologies that these children are carrying with them as they incarnate, there's no need for that. There's no need for the digging and the raping and pillaging of the tree lines and the tree structures and the herbs and the plants, and the animals in nature are to be honored as well. The level of communication that occurs between human and animal is going to be a very natural thing. The concept of speaking to and receiving help and infusions of light from star beings walking among us is a commonality as well. And excuse me, and there is to be no fear. There is to be no fear whatsoever about these processes, these communications. And once you understand that literally verbalizing concepts and ideas are pretty limited by nature. For right now, it's a common way that we are able to communicate with one another. And yet there is deception in verbal communication. Some people have perfected that to a fine art where they can be speaking beautiful words, and yet inside themselves they are deceiving to or manipulating to bring a certain about an outcome, a desired outcome, to confuse someone who is listening with pure-heartedness, and yet that way of speaking, and yet it's hard to comprehend that someone would do that, but it happens all the time. It's about one person's will trying to push or control another person's will, to do the bidding of another, for instance, to have a commander and the commanded. That is not going to happen any longer once we go through this inversion. And yet at the same time, nonverbal communication is very clear because you listen with your whole heart and you listen with everything. Your feeling, your sensing way of communicating. It's a much clearer and much more honest, I'm going to say, transactional way of communicating. It's the way that higher realm beings telekinetically communicate, and human beings are going to do the same. In other words, we're going to go back to the way that we were before our memory was wiped and our consciousness was dumbed down. And so we're going to find that animals are a whole lot more intelligent than we ever would have thought. And it's going to be a very humbling experience, I must say. The same thing with the trees. When we are listening to the trees and they're communicating with us and in support of us in a way that it's in their language. Words are not a part of the equation. And so this will be a very common thing. It will not be a rarefied. There will not be just a few among us. It will be a very common occurrence to communicate non-verbally through thought, feeling, thought projection, feeling. And so I tell people when I'm in session that there is no such thing as a secret, because when you sense and feel energy, you know the energy signature, which is another reason why you trust yourself, you know yourself, so that you can be very clear about what resonates with you and what does not. Will there be sameness in this world? Absolutely not. We're the garden variety of diversity. Oneness does not mean cloning. It does not mean everybody's a twin to everybody else and everybody gets in everybody else's business. We certainly still will have quote unquote energetic boundaries, because that's part of the focus, that's part of the concentration of knowing what is yours to do. But at the same time, the reality of the sense of the motivation for the diversification, for the mechanic to become a mechanic and the artist to be an artist, is for the benefit of the collective. It's such a natural, and it's a natural, spontaneous desire to express in joyousness and in support of others. And so the concept of doing something for money, for self-gain, for hiding, or for squirreling something away, those programs just are not going to exist on the planet anymore, because it will not be in our consciousness. Because once we're in oneness, everything is open. And so we do everything for the joy of being, for the sense of passion, and moving forward in a way that sets each heart free. And yet we do it in great joy, selflessly so, for the benefit of the collective. And so that always feels really good to me when I sense that and feel that, because that's actually how the spirit world works. And yet there's a kind of a mopping up that's happening also in our world. They're telling me that the astral plane that is full of ghosts and goblins and lost souls and fragments of soul, it's like having your garage or your kitchen floor that you forget to mop up in the corners. There's a lot of debris. There's a lot of fragments of brokenness in the astral planes. They're saying that this is it's like the fourth dimension, all new territory for me to see these things. Uh, and that's all going to be cleared out because with oneness and responsibility, oneness brings a lot of responsibility, self-responsibility, but it is all going to be cleaned out, and that is where the angelic helpers come from. There are many people that have been scared into believing that death is to be feared, that death is permanent, and they haven't had the experience to know that death is a transformation. Death of the form, dropping of the vessel is just simply a transformation. They don't see the spirit that evolves. They don't feel the spirit that evolves. So they create programs based upon fear. And that's another separation program that's been implemented in the human genome, in the human psyche. And so all of that's going to be cleared out so that as the light beings walking among us, they're here to help. They're here to teach us. And it's funny, they're kind of showing me the robotic world, how they're introducing these mechanical machines that are programmed to do different things. They're saying, why would you want robots when you have a living library of beings that are here to help and to teach as needed and to serve, and we're all in this together. As I say this, my heart is kind of hurting because there is a lot of harshness in this world that's going to get cleared out as we go. And so as we hold tight and we allow for this flip, if you will, this inside out, outside in kind of experience that we're going to have, all this, I'm going to say race baiting and haves and have-nots and wealth versus poverty, the level of polarity that has been pushed into the ethos, into the consciousness ethos, is just going to disappear in one fell swoop. What can I say? And what we see on the other end, as I've seen before, when I first awakened years ago, seeing a homeless man pushing a shopping cart, and I looked and it was a huge galactic being that was there to be of service, to spread the light. And so that's another thing. The shield is going to come away from our eyes. We're going to see things for what they really are. And we're not going to ever be able to be arrogant in life ever again, or to perceive ourselves as greater than or less than, because we're going to recognize truly that we are all one, each one playing our own part. And so as we recognize, they just showed me a garden with the seeds planted, and there's one kind of farming where you plant homogeneous crops. And so as the crop grows, all the plants look pretty much the same. And then there's another way of farming, growing a garden, let's say, and you have a handful of seeds of all sizes, and you prepare the soil, and then you throw the seeds to the wind, and they land in the soil. And as the warmer season, and you've watered it, and you've done all the same things that you would for the garden that you've planted, seeds that are exactly the same, the one version of the garden that you've thrown the seeds into the fertile earth, it's like this beautiful, delightful surprise. You can't wait to go out and see what's growing next, and what the leaves are looking like, and how they're sprouting, and what's actually going to come up when you're doing that. And that's what this feels like to me. It feels like we've been preparing all our lives, and even with our memory, our galactic memory having been wiped clean, we still have an innate knowing that there is more to this earth than just living, working, and feeling this sense of separateness among people and among all living things. We have clues that we are all one. Many of us understand that, but no one person has really had that delightful surprise in its totality. We hear about masters that's true, and yet those are written, those are individuals that we read about, that perhaps even in recent memory we can say, oh, that's a walking master. But the guides are telling me that's not true. Everyone that is on this earth has some measure of separateness about them. So the garden metaphor, where the seeds have just been thrown into the soil and still taken care of, still watered, still loved, it's the delight and surprise as they sprout up and begin to grow. And then you begin to recognize the harvest. They're saying that's true oneness, is to recognize the surprising, delightful ways that life springs forth on this planet, and to celebrate all of life. Not to do anything for self-gain, but to be delighted and surprised, and certainly to be nurturing, most certainly. So with that, I feel like that is as much as I can really glean from all of this. I could go on, but the most important thing I would say is pay attention to yourself, pay attention to your body, pay attention to how you feel emotionally, mentally, physically over these next couple of months. Take time to relax, to play, to be in joy, to revel in what you really love, and pay attention to the amplitude of the sense of joyousness that you feel. And somewhere in the mix of all of this, we're going to experience a dramatic inversion. I feel like this is the time, this is the group. And with that enormous shift in consciousness, the whole of humanity will have an absolute pattern in which to follow and to feel. It's like critical mass. That's exactly the way they talk about this critical mass, that you can't help but to experience this inversion because it's a physical magnetic force that is pushing us all sort of toward the I just got the image of coming to the edge of an ocean cliff in our minds, but in actuality, it's just falling into a soft pillow and being loved up by spirit and by ourselves and one another, and realize that we're in such a magical garden of Eden here upon the planet. So with that, I'll leave you with that. I wish you all the best as you go through this process. We're going through it together, and I wish you well. Y'all take really good care of yourself. And we will see you on the next webcast, or if you're going to join me in the community circle tonight for dialogue, I'd love to see you there. All right. Oh, let me see some of the intentions. I didn't get to see that. Honoring our authenticity and sovereignty from California. I love that. Well, thank you all so much. And openness, clarity, and purity. I love that intention also. I'll hold that in my heart as I go through the rest of June and into the summer months. Take good care of yourself, and bye for now.